What's up, everybody? And thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Above the Nest with Raichele, brought to you by SB Nation and Bleeding Green Nation. Week 2 is officially behind us. We have a little mini bye going on right now, and then we get to look ahead to week 3 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But while we have this little mini bye, I figured what better way to talk about the birds than to bring on one of my fellow sisters in sports. Her name is Briana Barry. I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with her on Twitter. Her handle is at your host _ Breezy. And also, she's the host of the Sports and Stilettos podcast. So, what's up, Breezy? How are you doing on this terrific Tuesday?
I'm doing well. Weather's nice, birds are 2-0, so, life is good.
Yeah. So that's where we're going to start. I was going to ask you, the Birds are 2-0. There's a lot of teams in the league who are not 2-0. And
Right.
so what's something as of right now that the Birds have you optimistic about, and what's something that's a bit concerning?
Um, Optimistic. I like the in-game adjustments that we saw in week 2. Normally you see the adjustments made during halftime, but we saw it was almost automatic. So that makes me very happy that they can recognize the things that they are not doing well and change it as quickly as possible. Not having to wait until halftime. Um, the only thing that was concerning so far is how uncomfortable Jalen Hurts looks. We saw him in his first year as a full-time starter. He was average, pretty decent. We really didn't know what to expect. I mean, I did, but and then he took this huge leap in that second year as the full-time starter, and you're like, wow, like, we get used to this, chucking the ball, 80 yards down the field. Like, it was beautiful. And then you see him come out in weeks 1 and 2, and you're like, is this the same guy we watched for 6 months last year? Like, it didn't really make sense to me. And I said this after the first game. That first game looked nothing like the Philadelphia Eagles that we've watched over the last few years. Like, everything about the game just looked off.
Mhm.
And week 2, you saw some adjustments, so those concerns were, kind of swept under the rug and forgotten about. But the biggest thing for me was how uncomfortable he looked in the pocket. It was like he wasn't seeing the field as good as he was last year,
Mhm.
and to me, that's a little concerning.
Yeah, and I know I don't want to keep bringing this up, but I feel like it is necessary. The Birds did not play their starters in the preseason games.
Right.
And so Jalen Hurts, we saw, is just off to a mediocre start. He's not looking like the Jalen Hurts that we saw in the Super Bowl. But
Right.
also, we're seeing players like Hassan Reddick. Mind you, he did deal with like a little bit of an injury. So he went through thumb surgery during this offseason.
Yes.
He's off to a quiet start. We're not seeing him look like Hassan Reddick that we're used to seeing, that
Yeah.
finished leading the league in sacks. I think he was like number 4 leading the league
Yeah.
in sacks last season. And so some of the star players that we're used to just seeing dominate are kind of, just starting off slow. And so
Right.
should we be just overreacting? I mean, are we overreacting, or, it's only week 2? Like, how should we be feeling? Like, do we need to kind of just take a step back and breathe because it's so early, and kind of just give them the time to kind of shake that rust off?
Um, as fans, we overreact to everything, obviously. um, but in hindsight, I think that it's okay for us to kind of allow them the time to get back into a rhythm, because they haven't played since February, and you're jumping into full game speed. You're getting hit. You're like, these are the things that you're not used to because you didn't play in the preseason. And I understand the logic behind not playing your starters. We saw a lot of injuries in the preseason this year, and I think it was maybe more than previous years.
Yeah.
But for me, I was like, I'm very happy that they that the starters are not playing right now, because I would be hiding under a rock if something would have happened to Jalen Hurts or Jason Kelsey or AJ Brown, like any of these star players. Like, no, absolutely not. So I understand the logic behind not playing, but the flip side is having to deal with the rust and getting your body back into game speed and all of that and adjusting. So I think they've done enough to win these two games. It's been ugly.
Mhm.
Hasn't been, what we're used to. But I think week 3, because of this mini bye, they're getting people back healthy, and they're getting rest. You played 2 games in 5 days, so you
Yes,
know this this stretch is definitely much needed for rest. But
absolutely.
I think they get to Tampa, and I think we'll see. I think we'll see the Philadelphia Eagles that we're used to.
And you kind of touched on some of the injuries already. The Birds are not having the best injury luck so far this season through 2 weeks, which is definitely, we hate to see it. And on Monday, Ian Rappaport tweeted out that, defensive back Avonte Maddox is going to have surgery this week to repair a torn pec. And so this might mean that he's out indefinitely for the remainder of the season, which is a huge loss, especially because the Birds already lost Zach McPherson in the
Hmm.
preseason. And so when you look at
Yeah.
the cornerback, just defensive back depth, it's just slim, when you look at that position group. And so you had tweeted out saying, it's time, big dog. There have been some rumors and speculations about, Howie Roseman going after Budda Baker. And so I just wanted to get your thoughts on, this potential trade, make your case for why you feel that he should land in Philly.
I mean, he wants out of Arizona.
Yeah.
I mean, what other way to get, one of the best defensive players in Philadelphia, and he wants out of where he is.
Mhm.
Um, I know Howie Roseman can work the numbers. He is an absolute mastermind when it comes to that. And if there's anything that I trust, it is Howie Roseman going out and getting the players that this team needs to get through a long season. And Budda Baker is no exception to that. And the fact that he said that during the offseason, he wants to play under Nick Sirianni. He's one of those coaches that, like, he's a player's coach and people are comfortable around him. So that was one thing that I was like, all right, Howie, come on, work your magic here. And Howie is also a grand finesser, which
Mhm.
he did to the entire league. We saw in the draft, getting Jordan Davis, getting Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith, and the league really not knowing what to do. So if Howie Roseman can get Budda Baker in here, this team is going to be an absolute problem for the
Yeah.
rest of the year, and
Yeah.
it's going to be great.
And the Birds also, it was reports coming out from NFL insider Jordan Schultz that they're working out free agent cornerback William Jackson III on Tuesday, and we're actually recording on Tuesday. So just something to take note of.
Yeah.
As soon as we get updates on that, we will keep you guys all updated. But another area that the Birds dominated was definitely the run game. Uh,
Yes.
DeAndre Swift completely dominated against the Vikings. He finished with a career best of 175 yards and 28 carries with a touchdown also. And so the run game was definitely there. The Birds kind of struggled a little bit trying to get the pass game going. One player who was definitely very, very frustrated, and we saw this on the sideline, AJ Brown. And so, of course, still early in the season, not really too much to make out of it. But do you think that this is the first of many maybe outlashes that we're seeing from AJ Brown if they can't find balance with both the pass game and the running game? Because at the end of the day, the Birds have to do what works for them. And in this game specifically, the run game worked for them. And so there's a lot of people talking about, he's a diva. What are your thoughts on just this? Like, are we overreacting as well?
Um, I really don't think AJ Brown is a diva. I
Hmm.
really don't.
Hmm.
When you want to win, and Jalen Hurts said this in his press conference. When you want to win, you want to be a contributor to that win.
Hmm.
And you know, I think this goes hand in hand with Jalen not seeing the field as good as he used to. You also have a new offensive coordinator and Brian Johnson, who's now calling the plays, and everybody just has to get adjusted. And I think that with Jalen and AJ being best friends and actually having a very solid relationship outside of football, we're not going to see this happen again.
Mhm.
You know, at least not blowing up on the sidelines where, your coach has to come in and be like, "Hey, what's going on here?"
Yeah.
It'll probably be something that happens at halftime or in the tunnel in the locker room, something like that where cameras are not really around.
Mhm.
Um, you know, but I think AJ he had a moment. Football makes you very emotional,
Mhm.
and I'm not too worried about it. I'm not too worried about it. Um, again, Brian Johnson being the new offensive coordinator, even though he's been in this system already, um, everybody just has to get adjusted to each other, and that takes a little bit of time. So
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything to really worry about with him.
And I think this is a good problem to have. A lot of teams don't have this many weapons. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
Run game, pass game as well. And so week one, we were talking about Dallas Goedert not really getting involved. And so we saw them, get him involved a little bit more in week two. So I think that honestly, like you said, until they can get all components working, I think every week somebody's going to come up short because there are so many. You got Smitty,
Yeah.
you got AJ Brown, Dallas Goedert, and then you look at the running backs as well. So there's just so many key components that I think each and every week is going to be a storyline. Oh, this person wasn't involved. What's happening? I just think that
Yeah.
that's going to happen for the next few weeks, like you said, until everything starts to mesh. But I did want to look forward to week three. It is kind of early. It's only Tuesday. The game's not until Monday Night Football, but
Yeah, it's fine.
get into it. And so the Birds are now going to head to Tampa Bay to play the Bucs. They're 2-0. Yeah, they're
Yes.
2-0 as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, so they're gonna play them next. And so are there any just like key matchups that you're looking forward to seeing? Um, yeah.
Um, I mean, like I said before, I think week 3 is going to be the game that we see the Eagles really get back on track. And I mean, you're going against Baker Mayfield. You
Yeah.
know, not saying that he's a terrible quarterback, not saying that he is, bottom of the barrel, but it's Baker Mayfield. Like
Yeah.
let's be real here.
Yeah.
The defense has slowly gotten better. They're mixing the rotation is unreal with these
Mhm.
defensive linemen. And the fresher they are, the faster they can be to get to Baker Mayfield. I really want to see a bunch of sacks on Monday night. Um, I want to see better passing, completion percentage, stuff like that from Jalen. And I think it really does get back on track. There's no specific matchups, but as long as they take the time to really dive into what these little issues are that are causing bigger issues that we see in the game,
Mhm.
I think they'll be fine, and I think they'll come out with a win. So they'll be 3-0.
Okay. Score prediction you want to throw out there?
Oh, let's see. Monday night. I think okay. I want to say Eagles are going to win. They're going to win 30, 33-21.
Okay. That's good. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. That'll be my score prediction.
Okay. Cool. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. I really do appreciate it. Do you have anything you want to plug, anything coming out, any work that you just want to throw out here so that the listeners can definitely go tap in?
Yeah, you can follow me obviously on Twitter at yourhost_breezy. Any of my sports gambling people, you can also check out the um, website props.cash. They are the data analytics research uh, partner that I am working with now. And anyone who signs up using code Breezy will get 25% off their first month. So you can check that out. Everything is on my Twitter page in the bio. So check out the link there. And a podcast for Monday Night Football should be coming this week.
Cool beans. So make sure you guys tap into all of that. Like I said, I appreciate you taking the time to join me. It means so much. And so thank you so much. I got to have you back on the episode soon, for sure.
Oh, of course, of course. Anytime, anytime. Just let me know.
All right.